people. How are ya? Thanks for joining me, and welcome to Tema Talks. Tema Talks is brought to you, as always, by the Tema-Contra Memorial Trust, which is Canada's leading provider of peer support, family assistance, education, and training for all of our emergency services, public safety, military personnel, and their families. For more, visit tema.ca. Also, keep in mind that the views, opinions, and endorsements expressed in each episode are mine and my guests alone, and do not necessarily reflect the official position of the Tema-Contra Memorial Trust. And here's your trigger warning. Please make sure that you are in a good state of mind to listen to this episode, because there are going to be some difficult conversations and difficult subject matter. So do whatever you need to do to get yourself in the best state of mind to get the most out of this podcast. My guest this episode is the now retired member of the Canadian Forces, Jamie MacWhirter. Jamie is the Newfoundland ambassador for the Tema-Contra Memorial Trust. He's a big shot, for sure. Love talking to him. This conversation was recorded in person during the Tema Gala Week back in February. So I think you're going to find it has a little bit of a different feel. That's what I found when I went back and listened to it. Also, I did very little sound editing to this episode because I wanted you to feel like you're sitting right with us there. So let me know what you think. I always want your feedback. I really loved this chat. I think you're going to enjoy it. Let's get to it.
It was a dark and stormy night, nor'easter rolling in.
Welcome to Tema Talks, brother. Great to have you on again.
Oh, I love being here. This time we're face to face.
This is face to face. This is a whole new
serious.
Yeah, we're up a notch. We're making it a little bit more classy.
Yeah, it's nice. And look at this room. There's so many wonderful things in here. Oh my God, it's magical. This Tema Talk room. Oh.
Yeah, so we're here for Tema Week.
Yes, Tema Week.
Taking part in Tema Week, which has been awesome. And obviously they announced that Up Talk will be Tema Talks now going forward.
Tema Talk. Sounds good.
Tema Talks.
Sounds good, yeah.
It rolls right off the tongue.
It does. Like
I guess Angela Jeviden thought of that name, apparently.
You know what? I think it's an unwritten thing that Angela is the head ambassador.
Yeah? She's the boss?
So. I think she's the head ambassador. She puts everything together. She comes up with the ideas. She is, she is just intertwined with Tema. It's amazing.
She's a special human being.
She is.
Sure.
She is.
So, Jamie, for those that maybe didn't listen to the first episode that you were on of Up Talk, and if you didn't, you should go back and listen to that one.
Yeah, shame on you.
Yeah, shame on you. But if not, we'll give them a little sort of snippet, a little bit about you. So tell us about you and growing up and how you got involved with the military.
Well, for me, it all started from my great-uncle Walter. I grew up listening to stories about my great-uncle Walter, who fought in World War I. He was killed in action in World War I. He's actually the first Newfoundlander killed in battle in World War I.
Huh.
He was 19 years old. The story is amazing to me. I actually thought about trying to write the book because I found out that Uncle Walter, there was a great seal disaster in 1914 where a couple hundred Newfoundlanders were killed at a sealing because of a sealing disaster.
Huh.
Right? The story goes they were left out on the ice by accident, and they had to walk back to Newfoundland. And almost all of them were killed. It's a great book called Death on the Ice.
Huh, okay.
Anyway, I found out Uncle Walter was one of the guys that survived.
Right.
So Uncle Walter grew up in Corner Brook, Newfoundland, took a train all the way to St. John's, went out on a boat, almost died, come back home. When he got back home, his brother George had lied about his age, signed up, joined the army. Walter joined too, to protect him.
Right.
Walter was killed in the first battle. I think it was the Battle of Gallipoli, if I remember right. He was killed by mortar fire. George seen it, soldiered on. George was later captured. He made it through Beaumont Hamel, which was a huge disaster. Over 800 Newfoundlanders killed in one battle. George survived that. He was captured by the Germans. He was captured by the Germans and kept in a prison camp for 9 months. He come back with some amazing stories. I only heard a few. I never met the man. Yeah. But I was told that he told a story where in the prison camp they pinned him down and broke his leg so he wouldn't escape. And they would draw blood from their prisoners. And the reason why they would draw blood is they would take the blood then and bring it to their own medical units, right?
Really?
Yeah, this is what, and my Uncle France told me, you want to believe the stories you don't want to believe because they were horror stories, but the drawing the blood from them, he would show the scars because they would just cut and draw the blood.
Really?
Yeah, right? Now, these are the stories that I heard, some of the stories from World War One, right? I mean, if people looked at the info, I mean, just surviving the trenches in World War One was bad enough. But I grew up hearing all these stories, Sean.
Yeah.
About seeing how the pride in my MacWhirter family from these soldiers.
Yeah.
And then I got an older brother who joined, right? I got a cousin who joined. And it just seemed right. I wasn't that great at school, right?
Yeah.
And I just struggled by through school, but I joined the reserves, the Royal Newfoundland Regiment, on my birthday when I turned 17, as soon as I was legal. And I loved it. I loved the camaraderie of being around the soldiers and right and stuff like that. And it wasn't that long, a few years in the reserves, I switched to Reg Force.
Right.
And I went to trucker world though. I wasn't infantry no more. I drove a truck.
Right.
I remember being infantry shot and being in trench and going and seeing the truck come to pick us up and saying, freaking love that guy, because that guy's going to give us a ride, man. And I'm like, I got to be that guy one day.
Yeah.
And I took the truck and I started driving. And when in 2006, and Afghanistan came along, I was a quick pick because I had infantry training and trucker training, right?
Right.
So, I ended up in Afghanistan. But I'm a veteran now.
You're a veteran now. Just recently, you got your release.
2 days ago.
2 days ago. You are a free man.
I know, eh? I had to go in and erase that line that I signed 25 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. There was one line to sign getting in. There was like 12 to get out.
So how do you feel being out? How did that...
It was weird.
Really?
Well, I'll give you... It's like this. A lot of the soldiers, and I myself is like this. The camaraderie, being around the fellas, that was the part. I mean, even sports... hockey players and football players talk about it. When they lead the game, they miss being around the fellas, stuff like that. That was the hardest part.
Yeah.
It was easier because I was in a Navy base at the end of my career.
Right.
So it was, for me, I was a dispatcher, so it was kind of like a 9 to 5, 8 to 4, whatever job.
Right.
I didn't feel like the military no more, so it was an easier transition for me. I think the weirdest part, and you might laugh, is trying to figure out what to put on for clothes.
Yeah. No, I went through the same thing.
Right? I didn't know what to wear anymore because I joined when I was 17, so it was always just put on the uniform, or I was told what I had to wear.
Yeah. That is odd when it comes to that.
Now I'm like, I spent a lot of time looking at shirts. What shirt do I put on?
Yeah. I totally have that same.
I went out and bought a Toronto Maple Leafs jersey that was camo.
Really?
Yeah, the cap hat. Canadian cap hat, Toronto Maple Leafs jersey. Yeah, maybe that'd make me feel more comfortable, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So obviously, hopefully, some people know your story. You wrote a book about your experiences in Afghanistan.
Soldier's Tale. Yeah.
Soldier's Tale, a Newfoundlander in Afghanistan.
I did, yeah.
Which was awesome. Yeah. Loved it. So since we spoke way back when, you've put out a second book.
Yeah.
So tell us about that second book.
A Soldier Returns.
Right.
Yeah, it's just part two of the first one. The first one talks about the tour, talks about what we've seen over there. And I do, in the end, touch a little bit about PTSD when I got home.
Right.
And that was the part that really sucked people in. I mean, they like to hear about the tour. But for anyone out there who experiences PTSD, who has PTSD, that was the part of the book that they liked.
Yeah.
Because they were recognizing that they were... Right? And it didn't have to be a soldier. They didn't have to be a first responder.
Right.
Anyone who understood PTSD a little understood what I was talking about at the end of that book.
Yeah. It's an awesome book. I don't read a whole lot of books. I should read a lot more. But I read both of those books right away, and amazing job. Well done, brother.
Especially from you.
It's awesome.
I appreciate it. You gave me goosebumps. You told me that.
No, but so for those listening, if you haven't read those books, you need to get out and get them. They're awesome. So also, I mean, you're doing so many things, Jamie. So you have this PTSD Buddies Facebook community, we'll call it.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about that and how it's doing now.
It is growing. It's growing so fast that, and you know what? The members are so amazing that I don't even need to run it.
Yeah. Which you need. You need to have that.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to.
No. I got some great moderators and admins. If you understand Facebook groups, I'm still learning new stuff about Facebook.
Yeah.
There's moderators and admins, and some of my moderators and admins are social workers. I even got a psychologist in there,
right?
And I got a medical doctor. And I'm not saying they're always the perfect ones to talk to, but the two social workers I have both have post-traumatic stress disorder.
Huh.
I have a head admin lady. Her name is Chris. I won't say her last name. Her name is Chris. Chris is a social worker in New York City. She's also an ex-paramedic who went through 9/11.
Wow.
Yes. If you check out PTSD Buddy's YouTube channel, you'll see I do interviews like you do with these members, and I've done 2 with Chris, telling us stories about 9/11. Some amazing stories.
Wow, that would be really interesting.
But her and there's another not head admin, but another admin who's Rachel. She's also a social worker. When the group got so big, Sean, I just couldn't do it no more. I couldn't keep up with it all.
Yeah,
right?
Because you have your PTSD Buddies Canada.
Yeah.
Or your PTSD Buddies group, and then there's a Canada group, and then there's groups. A lot of different provinces now have their own group because it grew, and now I see that there's different states in the U.S. have groups.
Yeah, we just added New York actually, because the reason why we added New York, Chris, who's in New York,
right,
found a room at a library in New York where she's going to start hosting PTSD Buddy support group meetings. Or group support meetings.
Right, yeah.
Like I do in St. John's, Newfoundland.
Right.
Which is they're also held in Montreal and in Barrie, Ontario. They were being held in Alberta, but we had to stop.
You're so popular, your phone just keeps going off.
Yeah, that's PTSD Buddies and my wife. I'm calling right now.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, that obviously has blown up and has helped so many people. And then we have... Obviously, you got in with working with Tema. So explain a little bit about that, because since we spoke to you last, you are now the Newfoundland ambassador for Tema.
For Tema, yes.
So when did that happen?
2016, I believe it was.
Yeah, it must have been later in the year.
Yeah, it was in the Halifax, the last Halifax Gala, I think.
Right. So that was around. They usually have that around May or something like that.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that?
I cannot say enough good things about the Cantors and about Vince.
Right.
Just talking about the Cantors, I get emotional.
Hmm.
When I wrote the book from a basement because I hated to leave the basement.
Yeah.
It was my comfort zone. So I sat in the darkness next to a laptop a lot and wrote. The first book was written because I opened up my journal that I kept overseas, and the doctor told me it was therapy, writing it. But when the book was released, I believe it was Gordon Lois Gilmore that seen an article in a magazine about my book. My book got pretty popular in Newfoundland, so I got a lot of magazines in that Newfoundland, and they read it. I think it was a Down Homer, and they read it, and they contacted me. Gord was the first one on the phone, I believe. And he said he read the book, and he asked me if I would speak, because they're doing a tour. 2014, I believe they're doing their first tour around Canada, Tema Tour.
Right.
He asked if I would open at St. John's. I said no. Not a effing chance, man. Right? I was like, I'm not getting on stage and telling people about my symptoms and and admitting I have problems. I mean, I'm still in the military. Right. I'm not going to get up and talk about that.
Yeah.
And that was it. And then I went to my wife, Vanessa, and I told her about me saying no, and because I'm not going to get on stage and tell everybody my problems and everything. And she said, well, you did release a book.
Yeah.
And it's all in the
already
book.
Out there.
And it's out there, so why? And she made total sense, right?
Yeah.
I had no problem with public speaking and being in front of a crowd because I taught basic training. I was used to giving lectures, so
Right.
There was no stage fright. But to stand up there and talk about weapons is one thing. To stand up there and talk about your problems and that you tried to kill yourself and
Right. It's one thing to write it in a book.
yeah,
It's another thing to say it in front of people.
yeah. Like I had
Yeah.
such bad social anxiety.
Right.
My first panic attack was in a grocery store where I passed out and fell into some honeycomb cereal.
Yeah.
Right. And then I went and hid in the basement for 2 weeks. I wasn't even eating. I couldn't even go out to get food. My wife, she was my girlfriend at the time.
Yeah.
She would come and drop groceries off at the front door and leave. I couldn't even open the door for her. I was terrified of the world. Right?
Yeah.
Not only terrified of the world, terrified who I was because I didn't know who I was anymore.
Right. Yeah. A loss of identity.
Yeah. I didn't know
Yeah.
who I was. And so I just hid in the basement. And, I mean, I get on stage now. I would get on stage in front of the whole world if you let me.
Well, yeah.
I love it. We had a conference yesterday, and I was depressed that I couldn't get a chance to go on stage.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I get a high from it. And it's not about getting on stage because I carry on, I act foolish,
You're a diva. Yeah.
and I try to make people laugh. I get a high off making people laugh.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's not the fun part for me.
Yeah.
It's when it's all over. Because I know there's one person in that audience who wants to talk and got a story to share.
Yeah.
And they want to raise their hand so bad, but they can't. But as soon as the lights go down and the stage is closed, and you're standing on the front of the stage or the side of the stage, that's when the person comes. He's one-on-one or she's one-on-one with you. And once she feels that little bit of safety and
Right.
the dam releases, the
Yeah.
floodgates come, it all comes. And that is the connection I look for.
Yeah.
That's why I love PTSD Buddies so much. That one connection, knowing that you're not alone.
Yeah. You mentioned grocery stores, so you remind me of this. We have Atlantic Superstores in Nova Scotia. You guys have that in Newfoundland as well?
Yeah.
Or probably the version of it?
We have Sobeys and Dominion in Newfoundland.
Okay. So have either of them set up this new online grocery shopping thing?
You can't get groceries delivered. I know that.
Delivered's one thing. Now listen to this. So for us at Atlantic Superstore, this is so amazing. My wife will go on front because I too, since my PTSD diagnosis or since I started having trouble, I get really anxious in grocery stores or in big stores. I'm good if I know I need something. I get into the store, get it, and get out.
Mm-hmm.
But if my wife gives me a list, now I have to go and get stuff. For some reason, I find it really nerve-wracking. And I always end up forgetting something or one or two things, and it's just, it's not good. However, so what they have now, my wife will go on Friday nights, and she'll order the grocery list, the whole list. And then she'll pick a time, usually it's around 10 o'clock Saturday morning. So I drive to the superstore, park in a special parking spot, call them on the phone. Hey, I'm here to pick up my groceries. Excellent. Hang up. They come out with my groceries loaded into my trunk, come to my window with the debit machine. I pay. They say thank you. I say thank you very much, and I drive away. I never step foot in the grocery store at all.
Incredible.
It's amazing.
That's
I mean,
incredible.
I'm sure they didn't have this idea when they started it, but obviously for people that have mobility issues that can't walk around a grocery store, it's awesome. But for people with social anxiety inside grocery stores, and it's amazing. I have zero stress about doing that, and I don't have to walk into a grocery store.
It's amazing to me how many people find grocery stores a trigger.
Yeah.
It's amazing to me how many people say that their first trigger or their first panic attack was in a grocery store.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about a grocery store.
I don't know what it is. It's overwhelming. The amount of stuff, and then, I have to find certain things. That my wife is an awesome cook, an awesome baker, and so I'm finding all these weird bakery ingredients.
Right, yeah.
And I'm looking, and for some reason I get stressed out about it, and then I'm looking around, and there's just too much stuff.
The hardest part for me is the checkout line.
Right.
I don't know what it is. The checkout line is always the hardest part. I guess it's the interaction. I find when I'm even talking to the checkout lady, I'm moving back and forward, or I'm tapping something on the desk, or I can't sit still, or humming. I start going,
Yeah.
just sit still for a second, I'm just vibrating there, I don't know.
And then everybody else is looking at you, and you're like, yeah.
But that's very interesting. But the grocery store,
dude, it's awesome.
It actually reminds me of
good.
something.
What?
I host PTSD buddy meetings at the Royal Canadian Legion in St. John's, branch 56.
Right.
They've given us our own private room. Locked the door. I've even had a TV and everything donated. And a dartboard in there. That's where we host our meetings.
Right.
Now, they also have a restaurant in this Legion. Some of the best food in St. John's.
Really?
Yes. Now, the staff, the manager there, he has mental health first aid and another mental health course, I can't remember, for PTSD. PTSD Buddies and that Legion has worked together to make that Legion PTSD friendly. You can call this Legion and talk to the manager, Ted, and say, I would like the PTSD room for, you're going to come maybe to have a meal. He will unlock that door, set it up for however many people you are bringing, and you'll have your own waiter or waitress. So you're for the social anxiety, you are not around anybody but you yourself and your friends.
Wow, that's
right?
awesome.
It is awesome, and some PTSD buddies have taken full advantage. Tuesday nights we also open up PTSD buddies room just to put on a movie, play some games, have a chat. At the same time, upstairs bingo is going on, so members can go up and join in bingo, and if they ever feel triggered, they can leave and come down to the PTSD buddy room again.
Right.
Also, there's Chase the Ace is going on.
That's huge.
That's huge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody won $7,000 at the Legion just before Christmas.
Really?
They went. Yeah. And there's crib that night and a lot of different games because it's a big Legion in different rooms.
Right.
So PTSD buddies can enjoy. But they can always, if they feel triggered, go to this room. Right?
That's awesome.
So any person who's a member of the Royal Canadian Legion in Canada, I challenge you to make it happen. I think this should be in every Legion in Canada. A lot of soldiers, a lot of veterans. And when I say, I don't mean soldiers, I mean veterans. I mean first responders, police, everybody should have a spot, have a place that they can go, right? And, the social anxiety, I think that's one of the biggest when it comes to PTSD, one of those humps to overcome.
I mean, one of the misconceptions about the Legion that I had, because I did when I was living in Windsor, I had a little part-time gig. I bartended at the local Legion. Mm-hmm. And what I learned that when I was there is that you actually, A, you don't have to be in the military, or B, you don't even have to have a connection to the military to get a membership.
No, you don't. It's gotten, the Legion has changed a lot. I'm the vice president of the Legion. I'm at branch 56, and the Legion has changed a lot. You can wear your hat at the Legion now. You don't have to be a soldier. You don't have to be anything like that. All right? The Legion just wants you to be a part of them.
Right.
And the sad thing is, we're losing members. The members aren't joining. And sad to say, our veterans are dying off. Right?
Yeah.
There's no more World War I veterans. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're up there now. And there's not a lot of new ones coming in and joining.
That's what I noticed at the Legion in Windsor, Nova Scotia. Membership has really struggled. It's gone down and down and down. And what I noticed is there's not a lot of people our age. There's not a lot of young military or first responder people who are joining the Legion.
Yeah.
Or even probably don't even realize it's there.
Yeah.
Or or the opportunities inside those four walls. I don't think they know.
No, they don't, and they don't realize how much good the Legions do for people.
And I don't think the Legion is doing themselves a service as far as they could be. I think they could be doing better to put that information out there. Mm-hmm. And that's just my experience with it.
Yeah. The Legions are there to help the members, right? I know our Legion, not too long ago, bought a brand new furnace for a veteran because we found out his furnace died.
Yeah.
But you see, a lot of people, like especially soldiers or veterans, a lot of pride.
Yeah.
Hard to ask for help.
Yeah.
Right? Hard to ask for that handout or helping hand.
Yeah.
Right? Especially when it comes to finances. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
But I know myself with the Legion, we go and visit the veterans in the hospital and things like that. I live for that stuff.
Yeah.
Right? But yeah, you're right. The members, the numbers are going down and down, and you have to have a certain amount of members to be open. So there are legions closing fast around Canada, right? I personally think that's how Legion started, was due to PTSD.
Probably.
I think in my mind about World War One, those soldiers coming back, they didn't call it PTSD. What was it? Battle fatigue?
Right. Or shell shock.
Yeah,
shell shock.
So there was no medication. You come back, what were you doing? You were drinking. You know?
Yeah.
But you, as a soldier from World War One, I could be wrong, but I kind of pictured them trying to talk to somebody about something. Can't, or can only talk to another soldier.
Right.
So where do you go? You get together, form a clubhouse maybe.
Yeah.
Because you can't drink in certain public areas. You don't want to be in public.
Right.
Next thing you know, you got a clubhouse created. You've created a legion.
Yeah.
Right? It was a place for soldiers to go to drink and be around each other for sport. That's what I look at it.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I would agree with that. So one of the other things that you've gotten into recently is you've started to work with a group called Spartan Wellness. Is that what they're called, Spartan Wellness?
Yes.
So tell us about Spartan Wellness.
Well, I don't technically know a lot about Spartan Wellness as of yet. I just recently joined their team.
Right.
Spartan Wellness, they're mostly known for marijuana prescriptions, cannabis prescriptions, but they do a lot more. I know they're nonprofit, so any money they make, it goes back to the people. Like they're making a donation tonight at the Tema Gala.
Right, tonight's the big gala. Right.
Yeah. From what I understand, there's an organization called Marijuana for Trauma that was started by Fabian Henry, and it was run by veterans. And when it was sold, most of the veterans left.
Right.
And they created Spartan Wellness. All the main guys in Spartan Wellness used to be with Marijuana for Trauma.
Okay.
And I don't think they liked the way the path Marijuana for Trauma was going, and they started Spartan Wellness.
Right.
I'm starting some Spartan Wellness training on Monday.
Okay.
So I'll know more about it. But the reason why I joined it is I myself use cannabis.
Right.
I was on 4 pills for my PTSD, and then one other one to counteract the side effects of the first 4, right?
Yeah, and that's how it works, unfortunately, with a lot of pharmaceuticals.
Yeah. And I found myself, no sex drive, of course. Anyone that they're dealing with PTSD and you're taking a pill, you probably know there's some point of low sex drive.
Yep.
And then there was, I had an increase of appetite. I was eating a lot more with these pills, so I was gaining weight.
Yeah.
And what was the other thing? Basically they weren't working. Like, I felt so dead inside, like
disconnected.
I could watch a movie, the funniest movie in my life, and not laugh. Like my son could fall on the ground and I wouldn't care that he's hurt. I was just like, there was no feeling.
Right. It disconnects you from any emotion, bad or good.
Yeah, I was like, I was alive, but not alive. It was
right.
And I didn't like it. Didn't like it at all. And first time I used cannabis, somebody had a half a joint in an ashtray in my house.
Right.
And I was just sitting there, and I woke up from a nightmare about 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. And I don't know if you've ever done it, if anyone else experienced it. You ever wake up from a nightmare, and now you're awake, and you're pissed off that you're awake because you got to go to work next day, and now you can't go to sleep because you're pissed off. Right. So I'm lying here angry, and I'm just mad, and I get up and I walk around and I see the joint, and it's at that point I just don't care. I'm like, I'm on all these pills, nothing is working. Because I always stay away from marijuana because I'm a soldier, drug tests.
Yeah.
I got a family. I don't want to lose my job. And at that point, right there, 3 o'clock in the morning, I just didn't give a shit. And I lit that joint and I smoked it. And I got tired and I fell asleep.
Slept like a baby.
And I slept like a baby.
Yeah.
And I didn't have a nightmare.
Yeah.
And that's when I learned that cannabis doesn't take away your nightmares, but it's almost like you don't remember them. So you sleep through the night.
Okay, yeah.
So after that night, I still, in my mind, I'm not using cannabis.
Right.
And I got triggered again in anger, and I smoked it again, and it calmed me right down again. It was doing what I wanted the pills to do. I wasn't smoking a lot. I was just taking a couple puffs, and it was an amazing transformation for me. So I went through marijuana for trauma at first, got my prescription. Then that's when I learned about Spartan, and I switched because they were all veterans.
Right.
And with PTSD Buddy Sean, I got so many questions about marijuana because, people with PTSD, they hear from other people. Marijuana is really good. But I knew nothing about marijuana besides what I knew about rolling it in high school.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I wanted to know more. So I got to know Riyadh a little bit, and he likes PTSD Buddies. He's a member.
Right.
Riyadh is the head of Spartan Wellness. Turns out he was a member of PTSD Buddies for a year before we actually really spoke.
Wow.
And he asked me to be a member or a volunteer, and I jumped on it quickly because I wanted to know more about marijuana. And I've learned quite a bit.
Right.
Right, about sativas and indicas and different strands and how it's not just marijuana no more. There's different types for different symptoms, right?
And it doesn't mean you're sitting in a basement eating a bag of cheesies and
no, it doesn't.
That's not what it means. That's the stereotype.
Yeah, it is.
But it's not that whatsoever. Yeah.
I know people who are losing weight because of marijuana. Yeah, if you're just smoking a big pile and eating a pile of chips, that's going to happen. But if you're doing it right,
but that's with everything.
Yeah,
you have people with addictive personalities, right?
Mm-hmm.
They can eat, they may be addicted to cheeseburgers.
Yeah.
Drinking, smoking, food.
Oh, I don't want to get addicted.
Yeah, they're going to find something. It's not a lot of times it's not the medium, it's the personality itself.
Sure, man. If you love Honey Nut Cheerios and every morning you get up and eat Honey Nut Cheerios and all of a sudden on week number 4 we're out of Cheerios, you're going to be upset.
Yeah.
Right?
It's going to throw you off.
Yeah. Tell you what, tomorrow you're not drinking coffee. What the no coffee tomorrow? Why? Right?
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it anyway.
It is, yeah, it's
right?
true. No, that's awesome. So we'll have to, obviously, that's a good group, and I would invite the listeners to check them out. And the big thing is, as you mentioned, they're helping veterans, or first responders in general. Is it only veterans? Is it only military?
Civilians too.
Civilians too. So they're helping people gain easy access to get a prescription for cannabis.
Yeah, that's one of the things they do. They don't.
That's not everything they do, but
a person doesn't come to Spartan and just. Okay, here's some marijuana. No,
right.
They talk to you. What do you need? I mean, they'll help you find a doctor. They want to help more than just
help you navigate the process.
Exactly, right. Yeah. And I hate to say it, but I've seen lots of people there with PTSD who are just going on the streets and getting their marijuana, and that I don't like. I want you to see a doctor, right? Because I've helped people get marijuana prescriptions through Spartan, but through that I've met some people who are interested in marijuana, and then when you talk to them. You can tell marijuana is not the right thing for you. I talked to one woman who had really low blood pressure, and marijuana's been known to lower blood pressure sometimes. So that's one thing you don't want to do. I mean, when we line people up with a doctor about a marijuana prescription, if you're on any medications, you need that list of medications. The doctor needs to see that. The doctor's going to go over a lot of things with you, right? They're not just going to hand out marijuana prescriptions to everybody.
Which is the way it should be.
Exactly.
There should be a process. There should be some checkpoints. There should be someone overseeing it. And, and that all needs to happen in order to bring this all into, the mainstream, which it's coming. I mean, it's already here. It's coming.
Yeah.
And personally, I believe it's a good thing. I think that, cannabis, it's going to be found out, can help so many people with so many different things. I think it just versus how I don't think there's much. It's overwhelming how much positive can come out versus the negative. I think people just don't realize it yet.
I helped a woman who is 77 years old, church-going woman,
right?
77 years old, severe arthritis in her hands.
Right.
She hasn't made a fist in over 8 weeks. Gave her 0.5 milliliter. Half a milliliter. This woman was currently on 4 painkillers for her arthritis. Those painkillers were driving up her blood pressure, so she's on a blood pressure pill. And she was also taking Tylenol in between the painkillers.
Right.
And at last of it, she wasn't making a fist. And we gave her 0.5, half a milliliter. 2 hours later, she made a fist.
2 hours.
2 hours later, she was not only making fish shine. I came into the room and she was doing this, opening and closing her hands very fast, looking at them. Tears running down her face because she hasn't been pain-free in months.
Huh.
Within 3 days, swelling has gone down in her hands. She's not smoking anything. She has asthma. She can't smoke.
Right.
6 months later, I talked to this woman before I came to Ontario. She's on one pill now. That's a cholesterol pill. She's on no painkillers, no Tylenol. Her blood pressure is perfect. Her blood pressure is better now, she said, than when she was 30. Right? And the reason why I said she's a church-going lady is because every time I talk to her, she talks about, God put this here for me and you. It's just a plant. It grows, Jamie. It's just a plant, and he put it here for me and you. So take advantage, right?
Yeah.
And I thought about, you know what? She's right. Cat Williams says it best. It's just a plant. It just grows like that. And if you so happen to set it on fire, there are some results, right? There are some effects.
That's right. Yeah.
But
there's a reason why that plant, to me, it makes sense. There's a reason why that plant grows in like 98% of the climates on Earth.
Yeah.
I really believe, used responsibly, it's meant to help with so many different things.
We've, for so long, has just looked at it as a drug, not realizing it's...
Well, yeah, we can all thank Sir William Randolph Hearst in the 1930s for...
I blame Nancy Reagan.
It's
Nancy Reagan's fault.
His war on the hemp industry that set us back so many years. But
you grew up in the 80s?
I did.
Nancy Reagan had that commercial with all the movie stars holding up a frying pan. This is drugs. And holding up an egg. This is your brain.
Yeah.
And then they crack the egg on the frying pan, right?
Yeah.
What kind of marijuana are you smoking?
yeah, that's not any kind of marijuana.
You're burning it from the wrong end. No.
Yeah. So how are you doing now? How are you doing with your PTSD and navigating it? How you been?
There are days when I look at my wife and say, man, I feel great. There's no PTSD at all. And then there's the days where I wake up and I go, I'm shutting down PTSD buddies. I don't want to be timid, nothing no more. And I just shut down. I'm just in my room, right? And it's weird. I bounce back and forth. So I've learned that when the days come where I'm down and I don't want to be around anybody, I just hold on to the belief and the knowledge that tomorrow or the next day it'll pass.
Yeah.
Right? It will.
That's one of the things I've been telling myself too when I have those times is I have enough awareness through learning through these podcasts and dealing with Tema that I have just enough awareness to be able to tell myself that this is just my mind playing games with me and this will pass. Just ride it out. I have enough awareness to do that.
Yeah.
But it still sucks when you're in it.
Yeah.
But you do. It's just it's not reality most times. It's just you're overthinking and these thoughts are bombarding you. You just got to keep that in mind. Your mind's just playing a game with you, unfortunately, because of the things that have happened. You just gotta get past it. Let it go.
Yeah.
And it will.
I remember social anxiety is my biggest battle, and I pretty much I think got it conquered. And I credit every bit of it to my kids. I remember I used to walk through the mall and I just feel like eyes on me, especially through the food court. I feel like everybody's watching me. And I remember doing it one time, and I think it was Cody. I can't remember. He asked me, he said, when you walk through the food court, who stood out to you? Who do you remember? Right? And I was like, nobody. Why do you think anyone stood, or why do you think you stood out to anybody else?
Right. What makes you so special?
And then on that, I was like,
yeah.
You're absolutely right. Nobody was
totally right.
Me. Yeah, nobody's watching me. Nobody cares. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and
but your brain will make you think that you are a focal point of everybody.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. Will, if you allow it to.
Yeah. I remember I was in the mall with Cody and Avery, my other son, and Vanessa, walking through the food court, and I guess I'm just zoned out. because somebody's trying to talk to me and I don't hear it.
Right.
And I'm going to try to say this now without crying, because, my God, I cry.
Don't make me cry.
I cries at everything. Jesus.
I know. You've been crying like for 2 days straight. Okay, go ahead.
Cody was like 6 at the time, so he reached out and he grabbed me by the finger. And he said, Dad, I got to pee. Can we go to the bathroom? And as soon as that happens, you don't even think about anything else. You have a mission. You have...
Yeah.
You're right?
Yeah.
I'm focused on helping the most important person in my life, my son. Let's go. He led me right into the bathroom, right into the stall. And at the time, I thought that was weird. Why were we in the... You don't want me in the stall with him, right?
Right.
He closed the door, and he locked it, and he looked up at me.
Yeah.
And he said, Dad, you look triggered. Maybe we should do our breathing exercises.
Wow.
Because I told my kids everything about PTSD, about my PTSD, because I learned that they want to help. So I showed them how. I taught them my grounding techniques. I taught them my breathing exercises. And I told them exactly what triggered me.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to explain. They knew. And when they knew how to help, they wanted to.
Right. That's amazing, brother.
Yeah. So
that's an amazing connection that you have.
He spotted that I was triggered. He brought me to a safe zone, and then he calmed me down.
All on his own.
All on his own. He's 6. He's 9 now.
When he did that, how old was he?
6.
6.
About 6 years old.
Oh my God.
Maybe 7, Sean. Like, it was only a couple years ago. He's only 9 now.
Yeah.
But he was young enough that I was still going to the bathroom with him, right?
Yeah. That's amazing.
The other thing is, I've told that story a few times, and it's because of that story that I'll never. Actually, there's 2 reasons why I'll never try to commit suicide again. One was because of, I'll tell you a story later, but I think about that moment with Cody. And this message is for anyone who's ever thought about suicide. Because a lot of people with suicide, you think you're doing the world a favor.
You are.
By killing yourself. Because you feel like such a burden to other people.
Right. That's exactly how it is.
Right? You think this is my last favor for everybody.
Yes.
You'd be better off without me, right?
Yeah. It's my last good deed.
Yeah.
The ultimate good deed. That's how you think of it.
Yeah. But you're not realizing that you're not killing the pain by killing yourself. You're leaving it for someone else to carry. So, if you're listening and you've ever thought about killing yourself, I want you to close your eyes and I want you to picture the most important person in your life. For me, is my sons. You got that person pictured? That person just killed himself. For you. They killed themselves because they thought that's what you wanted. They killed themselves because they thought you would be better without them. How do you feel? Do you feel better that they're gone? Because when you're gone, they're not going to feel better. Do you blame yourself because they killed themselves? Because they probably will. They'll probably be so upset that they didn't see that you were in trouble and that you needed help, that they're going to blame themselves to the point that they might kill themselves too. That's the thought I have in my head all the time. There was a time when I wanted to kill myself because I thought my kids would be better off. But ain't nobody going to love your kids more than you, man, or woman, whoever you're listening.
Yeah.
So if you ever think about killing yourself again, I want you to think about the most important person in your life and put them in your shoes. Because you're important. You're important to your family. You're important to your friends. I don't even know you, but you're important to me. You're my PTSD buddy.
That's an amazing exercise you just took us through.
Yep. That went through my head one day. Because of that. I was telling that story one day. And it dawned on me. What if Cody thought I was better off without him and he killed himself as a favor to me?
Wow.
Because, I mean, that's probably what our kids or our spouse or our loved ones are going to feel, right?
Yeah.
If you don't have family, I'm sure you got a friend, you got that. It could be a dog, a cat,
Anything that you care
anything
about.
that you love, just killed itself.
To remove itself from you because it thinks that is doing you a favor.
Yeah, because that's what I was feeling when I tried to kill myself, Sean.
Yeah.
I thought my friends, my family would be better off without me. But I thought about it, if one of my friends, and they have, killed themselves, my first thought was, how did I miss it? Why didn't I see it? My dad is still alive. My dad is 79. And what if he killed himself because he thought he was doing me a favor?
Right.
Holy shit, man, it would destroy me.
Yeah.
It would.
Yeah.
So that thought keeps me going, man. I'm never going to do it again.
Thank you very, very much for sharing that. That was much needed. Jamie, if anybody wants to contact you or reach out to you to ask about you or PTSD Buddies or Tema or Spartan, all the other stuff that you're involved with, how can they do that?
I've learned that you can Google me.
Nice.
You Google my name, you'll get all the information.
Right.
I'm on Twitter. I'm on Facebook if you just type in my name. Email address, ptsdbuddies@gmail.com.
Easy.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
don't feel like you're sending a burden to me or, geez, that was a hard word to get out.
It was.
I want you to contact me. You're doing me a favor by contacting me. Every time I get contacted by someone new, it makes me feel bigger. It makes me feel good.
It solidifies that identity for you.
Yeah,
of your
it does.
Purpose.
Yeah, it does. I think this is my purpose right now, and I love doing it. Anytime I get contacted by someone new, I love it because to me it's somebody who's going through what we felt at some point, Sean.
Right.
The alone and everything, it's. You just remind me of something. That's another thing that's really good about PTSD Buddies. Yes, there's people getting help. But have you ever helped somebody with PTSD? I know you have. The feeling you get by helping somebody else.
Yeah.
Right?
I get much more back than I think that I gave.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? Bob just helped Jane with her PTSD. Now he feels so much better about himself. Right?
Right.
That's a whole other thing, too. So I'm not only getting messages from members saying, thanks for the group, I've learned so much. I'm getting messages from members saying, I just helped Bob.
Yeah.
Bob was ready to kill himself, and I just helped him. Or
wow.
Maybe killing yourself is a bit too much what I'm saying, but...
No, well, that's what's happening. Listen, it's happening. We haven't stopped that cycle yet.
Yeah.
The numbers are still climbing, and so that is, whether people want to hear it or not, that is the reality of where we're at. And you need to hear that. I mean... You do. Now, you've tried to mess me up in my order of things, but I'm still going to hit you with this question, Jamie. So, if there's someone listening right now who is struggling, any level of struggling, that what would you say to them if they were sitting in front of you like I am?
You're not alone. There are so many people out there with the same symptoms you got. Same circumstances. You don't have to be a soldier. You don't have to be a firefighter. You don't have to be anything. You can still have PTSD. I mean, a person can go out and get into a small fender bender, PTSD, right? It's at different levels. You just got to, don't bury yourself in the basement. Don't hide away from the world. There's help out there. Tema Contra Memorial Trust, find them. PTSD Buddies, find them.
Yeah.
Spartan Wellness,
Yeah.
There's a lot of Facebook groups alone out there for people with
Tons.
right?
Tons.
Find somebody to talk to.
And that's the other important thing. I don't care. I mean, obviously, Tema means a lot to me, and as well as Project Trauma Support and the things that I've experienced. But I also know that not everybody is the same. Mm-hmm. They may not connect with PTSD Buddies, but they connect with Callie's Corner.
Exactly.
So, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Like we all need to be okay with that. We're all in this to help people, and it's okay. And it also know that it's okay that if you don't connect with one, it doesn't mean anything's wrong. Everybody's individual. Just keep looking until you find that group or that psychologist or that you connect with, and you will find it. It is there.
Yeah.
But
someone joins PTSD Buddies, they request to join. I don't just go, click, you're approved.
Right.
I message them. How you doing, man? Or woman? You know, I don't ask exactly what city you live in, but I look to see where you're to. And I don't just say, here's PTSD Buddies and that's all that's out there. No, if they're a veteran, I say, do you know about Tema Foundation? Right?
Yeah.
If they're into cannabis or whatever, do you know about Spartan? Do you know about... And I try to show them...
You're a resource peddler.
Exactly. I don't want to... I'm not just trying to push PTSD Buddies on everybody because I know that's not going to work for everybody.
Right.
And... that's what we do in PTSD Buddies. We share other groups. We share other links.
Right.
Right? Not all of them.
There are some that don't. I've come across some groups that will not share any other links except their own.
Yeah. I have a rule with mine.
Yeah.
If you're gonna come to me with a link that you want to share, then I want you to have experienced it. I get a lot of people coming to me and say, "Hey, I'm running a dude ranch in Ontario, and for $75, people can join, and meals are included, and it sounds good, yes.
Yeah.
But I don't know one person that actually went to your ranch and did everything, so I'm not going to promote it. Right. But Sean, if you came to me and said, "Listen, Jamie, I just spent 2 weeks at this dude ranch, and I found it very helpful,"
that's different.
That's different. Yeah. I will promote that because you went through it, you did it, and you found it helpful, and. I've had plenty of times where people come to me. I use the word dude ranch because it actually happened. Someone told me about a ranch, and I told them no. They let me have it.
Right. How
dare you not let me share this link? You're the reason why there's so many people with PTSD. You know that? Well, why don't you want to help people? And I'm like, it's not about that. I don't know you, man. Like, right?
Yeah. And you do have to be careful. You have to maintain the integrity of your group.
Sure.
Which is a tricky slope.
Yes.
You do have to vet ideas to a certain extent. People need to be free to express themselves as far as members, but when it comes to endorsing groups or other experiences or anything like that, you do have to do your due diligence and vet them.
Yeah.
You do.
Yeah.
In order to do it correctly, anyway, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Jamie, this has been wicked. We got lots of fun to come. You and I are going to the gala tonight.
I got a feeling this could go on for hours. Like
we could sit here and do this for hours, but Vince would be upset with me if I did that. We need to keep it to a digestible, half-decent length, so that's what we're going to do. But, of course, we can always have you on like 18 times, so we can just string them all together. So.
But I'll do this anytime. You know I love talking to you.
Yeah, I love you, brother. And you've been such an inspiration for me and helped me get through some tough stuff. And it's going to be an amazing journey. We still have lots of work to do, and I know we're going to do it. And I'm just so happy to be able to do it with you and your group.
I appreciate it. I'm right back at you. Last night, that Tema thing that we went through.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was different than any other one I've ever been.
Really? Because that was the first one I've been to.
For me, it was exciting. It was, I don't know, it's almost like, for me, it was almost like looking at a flower that's partly opened. Like, big things are coming.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you can see the start of, I know Tema's been around for 17 years, I believe it is.
Yes.
Right? And Leanne said it best in her speech last night. Her first time she won, it was like 15, 20 people there.
Yeah.
Last night there was over 100. I think 10 years from now there's going to be over 1,000.
Yeah. I mean, tonight at the gala, what is it, it was like 600 people.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be amazing.
I love the Tema Foundation. If PTSD Buddies wouldn't even exist.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for the Tema Foundation. There's not a thing I wouldn't do for them.
I feel the same way.
For them contours and
Savoys. Yeah. They have a good spell over people, I'll tell you.
Don't tell them I said that. Though.
Yeah. No, I hear you. They may hear this, but that's okay. But anyway, thank you very much. You know I love you. And please take care of yourself and your family. And you know that if there's anything you ever need, that I'm here.
Right back at you, man.
Thank you.
I love you.
All right. See you, people.
Now my shift is finally over. I gotta deal with what's mine.
And we're done. How wicked was that? I loved it. If you haven't done so yet, if you haven't read either of Jamie's books, please go out and get them and read them Actually, you can get a hold of Jamie and he'll send you out signed copies, so that's even better. I'm not a huge reader myself, but I can tell you that I've read both of these books, and they are awesome. If you ever get a chance to go see Jamie speak, do it. It's worth whatever gas money that you're going to spend. He's awesome to listen to. He brings a light-sided approach to a very serious subject. He'll have you laughing. He'll have you crying. It's awesome. It's like watching an episode of This Is Us. Whole range of emotions are going to happen. So get out there and see him if you can. One thing I want to clear up, when I went back and listened to this episode, I made a reference, I think it was when we were talking about suicide or some thoughts that can get into your head that may not be right. I made a reference and I said that your brain is just playing a game with you. And that didn't sit well with me when I listened back to it. I was not trying to trivialize the thoughts that can come into your head because they're very tough to deal with, and I didn't mean to lessen that at all. So here's the point I was trying to make, if I was to say it again. If you break your arm, no one, including yourself, would expect you to be able to throw a ball or support your own weight with that arm until it's healed. I think we can all agree on that one. So it is no different. When you have a mental injury, why would you expect the signals and thoughts that are coming from your brain to be correct automatically when it's trying to heal? Okay? When you get those negative thoughts, they're not true. They are wrong. Your brain, which has been injured, is firing off wrong signals, wrong thoughts. You have to disregard them and stay positive. That's the point I was trying to make. So, just in case any of that, if that hit you the wrong way at all, because it kind of did me when I listened back to it, that's the point. So, thank you. Lately, I have come to realize greatly one idea, and that is this. You can have all the tools in your tool belt to help you overcome those times where you're a bit down or a bit depressed. You can have all the tools. But if you do not use those tools, they won't work. Okay? So what I've been trying to do whenever I have some tough times or some tough thoughts, if I start getting negative, which I can definitely get that way sometimes, I am now looking in my toolbox, finding a tool, and using it. If I don't think I have the right tool, then I reach out to people who do. And they give me a new tool. I've done that. I've done that many times in the last month. And I'm just lucky that I have people that I can reach out to that will help. But you know what? You're lucky too. Because you can reach out to people around you, reach out to me, reach out to Tema, anybody. And if we don't have an answer, we are going to steer you in the right direction. Okay? So there's no excuse. Speak up. As you may have heard, we have a little contest running, so we're trying to get our Facebook page up to 1,000 likes. We're at about 750-ish right now. So when we get to 1,000, we're going to draw names from all 1,000 names, and we're going to give away 5 Tema swag bags. As I said before, little bags of awesomeness. That's what they will be. So if you already like the page, you're still in it. Okay, you're still in this. What we need you to do is, if you can, share the page as much as you can and try to get those likes up, and then we'll do the draw. We're going to use a site called random.org, I believe. And what they will do is we plug in all 1,000 names, and they will pick 5 randomly. So totally legit random draw. So help us out. Let's see how fast we can get there. As always, you guys are great. I love you all, and you are the executive producers of this podcast. So you have a job, and that job is listening, and if you like the podcast and believe it has some merit, please share it. Please subscribe to the podcast, however you listen to it. That makes a huge difference. Don't just listen and leave. Subscribe, and leave some comments, leave some feedback, and give us a rating. That rating is hugely important. So please take a few extra seconds and do that. I would greatly appreciate it. And I'll thank you ahead of time because I know you're all going to do that now, or I hope. In about 12 days, you'll see another video from me posted on Tema Talks social media announcing the guest for the 4th episode of Tema Talks. I can tell you that she is awesome, and that's all I'm going to say. That's your hint. It's not much of one, but that's what I'm giving. It's going to be great. So, until I get to spend time with you again, take care of yourself and each other. More love, less judgment. And we're done. How wicked was that? I loved it. If you haven't done so yet, if you haven't read either of Jamie's books, please go out and get them and read them. Actually, you can get a hold of Jamie and he'll send you out signed copies, so that's even better. I'm not a huge reader myself, but I can tell you that I've read both of these books, and they are awesome. If you ever get a chance to go see Jamie speak, do it. It's worth whatever gas money that you're going to spend. He's awesome to listen to. He brings a light-sided approach to a very serious subject. He'll have you laughing. He'll have you crying. It's awesome. It's like watching an episode of This Is Us. Whole range of emotions are going to happen. So get out there and see him if you can. One thing I want to clear up, when I went back and listened to this episode, I made a reference, I think it was when we were talking about suicide or some thoughts that can get into your head that may not be right. I made a reference and I said that your brain is just playing a game with you. And that didn't sit well with me when I listened back to it. I was not trying to trivialize the thoughts that can come into your head because they're very tough to deal with. And I didn't mean to lessen that at all. So here's the point I was trying to make, if I was to say it again. If you break your arm, no one, including yourself, would expect you to be able to throw a ball or support your own weight with that arm until it's healed. I think we can all agree on that one. So it is no different. When you have a mental injury, why would you expect the signals and thoughts that are coming from your brain to be correct automatically when it's trying to heal? Okay? When you get those negative thoughts, they're not true. They are wrong. Your brain, which has been injured, is firing off wrong signals, wrong thoughts. You have to disregard them and stay positive. That's the point I was trying to make. So, just in case any of that, if that hit you the wrong way at all, because it kind of did me when I listened back to it, that's the point. So, thank you. Lately, I have come to realize greatly one idea, and that is this. You can have all the tools in your tool belt to help you overcome those times where you're a bit down or a bit depressed. You can have all the tools. But if you do not use those tools, they won't work. Okay? So what I've been trying to do whenever I have some tough times or some tough thoughts, if I start getting negative, which I can definitely get that way sometimes, I am now looking in my toolbox, finding a tool, and using it. If I don't think I have the right tool, then I reach out to people who do. And they give me a new tool. I've done that. I've done that many times in the last month. And I'm just lucky that I have people that I can reach out to that will help. But you know what? You're lucky too. Because you can reach out to people around you, reach out to me, reach out to Tema, anybody. And if we don't have an answer, we are going to steer you in the right direction. Okay? So there's no excuse. Speak up. As you may have heard, we have a little contest running, so we're trying to get our Facebook page up to 1,000 likes. We're at about 750-ish right now. So when we get to 1,000, we're going to draw names from all 1,000 names, and we're going to give away 5 Tema swag bags. As I said before, little bags of awesomeness. That's what they will be. So if you already like the page, you're still in it. Okay, you're still in this. What we need you to do is, if you can, share the page as much as you can and try to get those likes up, and then we'll do the draw. We're going to use a site called random.org, I believe. And what they will do is we plug in all 1,000 names, and they will pick 5 randomly. So totally legit random draw. So help us out. Let's see how fast we can get there. As always, you guys are great. I love you all. And you are the executive producers of this podcast. So you have a job. And that job is listening. And if you like the podcast and believe it has some merit, please share it. Please subscribe to the podcast, however you listen to it. That makes a huge difference. Don't just listen and leave. Subscribe and leave some comments, leave some feedback, and give us a rating. That rating is hugely important. So please take a few extra seconds and do that. I would greatly appreciate it. And I'll thank you ahead of time because I know you're all going to do that now, or I hope. In about 12 days, you'll see another video from me posted on Tema Talks social media announcing the guest for the 4th episode of Tema Talks. I can tell you that she is awesome, and that's all I'm going to say. That's your hint. It's not much of one, but that's what I'm giving. It's going to be great. So, until I get to spend time with you again, take care of yourself and each other. More love, less judgment.
'Cause we ain't superheroes, we're just ordinary people trying to make a difference and the first on every scene. And it's a heavy, heavy burden to carry all this hurting when you can't unsee the things you've seen. It keeps going on. When those sirens are gone, it keeps going on. When those sirens are gone.